We are joined by two guests today to discuss this topic. Dr. Satoru Nagao, Fellow Hudson Institute, joining us from Tokyo, Japan, and Teng Bao, Hausa human rights scholar, City University of New York, joining us from Washington. Thank you very much for joining us. Teng Bao, I wanted to come to you first, and I was wondering, what are the international protocols for launching military drills of this size, and is Australia justified in its comments?
Yes. So Australia complained that the Chinese government didn't give them proper notice before the drill. So surprisingly, Chinese authorities didn't give any notice before the drill, and they just gave like a radio announcement, and that's not the correct protocol.
Dr. Nagao, what is the significance of these military exercises in the Tasman Sea, and what is China meaning by them? Is Australia exaggerating, as China says?
China is exaggerating this situation, so that's why this is a problem. China is provoking other country, and in this case, one of the important part is China is expanding area of military activities. So China claimed whole of the South China Sea, China start to claim in the East China Sea, in the Senkaku Island of Japan, and China start to claim the Taiwan and the sea around Taiwan. That is within the first island chain we call, but just the side of China. But other area, China is expanding the area of the activity. That is a new feature of the China's military strategy, and that is a problem. That is a provocation for other country. So that's why the other country around China need to deal with, and such kind of reaction is China is exploiting such kind of the reaction to legitimize the activity in this area. But China's claim is strange because China start first and other countries try to react it.
Teng Bao, how does this balance power in the broader terms of Indo-Pacific relations?
China has been more aggressive in Indo-Pacific region and broadly the whole world. I think the Chinese Communist Party actually in China facing all kinds of crises like a political, economic, and ideological crisis. But on the international stage, they are expanding their influence, their power. And I think the purpose of the Chinese Communist Party is to make sure the international order is safe for the Chinese government, for authoritarian countries. So we have seen China's aggressive policies not only in South China Sea regarding Taiwan, but also regarding Australia, New Zealand, and many other countries through Belt and Road Initiative and other projects. I think we have to worry about that China has been the most urgent and powerful threat to the rule-based international order, actually the international freedom and democracy.
Dr. Nagao, this isn't the first time we've heard something like this. What steps can be put in place to establish clearer communication between China and Australia? And what does this say about China and Australian relations?
When we see the China's activity, we can say that when the China underestimates opponent's capability, China tries to provoke it. So if the United States is very strong, China do not provoke the United States. But if China underestimates the US power, China provoke the United States, something like that. So that's why currently US focusing on just solving the issue in the Ukraine and the Middle East. That's why the US hasn't concentrated their military power to the Indo-Pacific. So under such kind of situations, Australia or other countries need to deal with themselves. But that is the reason China can exploit this situation to provoke this country. But in the near future, when the US solves the other issues in Ukraine and the Middle East, of course the US will relocate their resources to the Indo-Pacific to deal with China. So that's why currently we need to deal with ourselves. But in the future, we will have the advantage to deal with China, I believe. So in this case, what we should do is promoting cooperation and try to limit China's activity ourselves. That is the current, we must do it.
Teng Biao, yesterday an Australian minister said China can flex their muscles somewhere else. What do you take from this statement, and how long do you think until this progresses into something? How long until China does something? How far is China going to push this, do you think?
China is flexing its muscle everywhere, not only in Pacific, but everywhere. And the relationship between China and Australia has been deteriorating, especially when Australian government planned to explore the origin of COVID-19 a few years ago. And Chinese government has been using different kinds of methods, including political pressure, economic coercion, and diplomatic aggression, as well as other methods to press Australia. And China now wants more power and influence in the whole world. They want to even replace the United States as the most powerful country. So as I mentioned, China's aim is to ensure the international order to be in favor of authoritarianism, and they want to reshape the international order. So China doesn't respect its own constitution and its own legal system, and China doesn't respect international treaties that it has ratified. So in the foreseeable future, we will see that China will become more and more expansive and aggressive, and that will bring profound impact to the whole world.
Dr. Nagao, how do you analyze the way that China behaves in international waters?
China is expanding their claim one by one. So even if currently this is a public space, public sea, there is a possibility that China will claim as a territorial sea in the future. That is one of the features of China's territorial expansion. For example, in the East China Sea, before 1970s, China hasn't claimed the Senkaku Island of Japan as their territory. But after the 1970s, they tried to claim it. So that's why this is a typical feature of the China's claim. So in the Arctic or the Tasman Sea, any place China will claim in the future. If China need to do or China need to provoke any places, China will claim. So that's why how to deter China rely on our military capability. If China do not underestimate us, in this case, China will not provoke us. So that is a pattern. So that's why we must strength, we must improve our military capability. But China is rich. How to do that is a question. That's why cooperation. If Japan, Australia, India, the United States, this is a Quad, cooperate each other, China need to divide their military budget multi-direction, multi-fronts. So that's why this is effective way to maintain military balance to deter China's provocation. So we should not underestimate China's military power or China's economic strength, but at the same time, that is why we should cooperate each other and promote our military capability. That is your answer to deal with China. Thank you.
Teng Baiyao, how do you think both sides have gone about cooperating with each other in this matter?
For example, recently we can talk about. Is it?
Apologies, I was referring to Teng Baiyao in this okay. Question.
Sorry.
You mean like a cooperation between China and Australia?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's very important to be calm, to not elevate the crisis in this region. And so it's important to have dialogue instead of flexing muscles instead of military conflicts. But it will be very difficult because Chinese government decides to be more aggressive to solve its own problem. And China now has become the second largest economy, and its military and political power is increasing. So first they want to receive international order in its own favor. Second, China doesn't want to be democratized. They want to remain and strengthen its kind of a totalitarian system. So against this background, it will be not easy for the cooperation between China and Australia, between China and any other democratic country. So I agree that it's more important to have cooperation among democratic countries.
Teng Baiyao and Dr. Naval, thank you very much for joining us.